Hello, I'm Pastor Brad Schallenberg of Peace Lutheran Church. My question for you, I want to encourage you to study First Peter. Here's a good question. When the culture mocks and opposes your faith, what do? Well, I'm going to suggest you study First Peter. I've heard stories of how university students are weary of being mocked by their professors for being Bible believing Christians and perhaps even getting their grades reduced because of it. Or husbands who are mocked by their buddies for not looking at porn or partying with their coworkers after work. Or wives who forgo a professional career, put it on hold to stay at home to be a wife and mother for a little while. Or singles who are still virgins, and the punchline of jokes at the gym for waiting until marriage to have sex. And then there are all those Christians online surfing the net who can't stomach one more nasty blog or negative news story about their faith in church. Let me tell you that the resolve of those who first received this first letter of Peter was tried, just like you might be. Various people were pulled in a variety of directions in the first century, just like today. Some were enticed by the liberal route of compromise, to edit their Bible. They wanted to cut out or at least explain away the parts of the Bible that they were being criticized for believing. In our day, this would be most typified by Christian denominations with pastors who endorse all religions and spiritualities and officiate at all kinds of marriages and constantly preach pluralism. Some were compelled to privatize their faith. Sure, in private they would pray to and worship Jesus, but in public they would shut their mouths and keep their faith to themselves, so as to not be considered, the weirdo for Jesus. Closet Christians. Some were considering abandoning their faith altogether. I mean, they were tired of being the butt of jokes in the press and on the late night talk shows. Why? Because most people simply do not like being the oddball or the misfit or the outcast, especially those who are young and want to be cool, or those who are old with privileged social positions and lifestyles to fund. Our day is a lot like their day. I mean, carrying a Bible around is about as socially acceptable as walking around with no pants on. There were others in the early church, like there are today. There were religious fundamentalists. I mean, they were preparing to separate from the culture, set up their own subculture, defend themselves, and talk trash about the non Christians who were criticizing them, all in the name of a culture war. Yeah. Believing in Jesus was hard in the first century, and it would not have survived if it weren't for God sending his Holy Spirit to the likes of followers like Peter to help them navigate living their faith in a hostile culture. And we benefited from it because we've got that letter. So Peter opens his letter by calling Christians elect exiles. Elect means that they were chosen by God, and exiles means they were far away from their heavenly home. They were sent as missionaries, although hated by the culture. They were to bring the culture of heaven to lost people in hopes that love, grace, mercy, and forgiveness would see people saved and perhaps maybe even culture changed. Our mission and message remains the same today. Peter's constant message is that Christians should expect to get treated like Christ got treated, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, respond to the world around us with the loving, humble courage of Christ, so that they see Christ through us without us getting in the way. Join us as we study 1 Peter.